Hey guys, welcome back to your Objective-C tutorials, and now we're going to be going over another variable type called a float, and that basically contains any values with a decimal place. So in the previous tutorial we went over integers, which you couldn't actually have a decimal place, and then we're going to intermix the two, integers, float, what's the difference, all that stuff. So let's get going on where we're at. So we're in Xcode. If you haven't seen how to set that up, go back to, I think it's tutorial 2, get you right up to this point right here. Float. Alright, so float, we're just going to put a simple variable name of x equals 4.523 or 43, you know, whatever number you want. Just put some decimal places. Next one, we're just going to put float y equals 3.21, and then we're gonna put maybe float sum equals x plus y, similar to what we did. Wow, that's not plus. Similar to what we did with the integers there, but I want to show you the decimal side of it, just to give you a little bit more buoyancy, a little bit more flexibility as you guys program in the future. All right, we're gonna get rid of this. And we're also just going to put in, as you guys remember, a placeholder for that value for our variable, which if for the integer was in %i, the percent being a special character, the I in the last one was for integer. In this case, we're going to be doing %f. And so the special character % followed by f stands for the float. So that designates what kind of variable data type we're specifying. So that's the first value, which we'll say is x, and then we'll just write this in, first value f plus the second value for the placeholder equals %f again. So as we outline that, again we have to state which variables we want to put into those placeholders, which indicator. So for the first one, we're going to put in x, comma. The second one, we're going to put in y, comma. And the third one, we're going to put in sum. So as you can see there. Going to go ahead and run our application, and we have some problems. Thank you, compiler debugger, for pointing those out to us. We forgot some semicolons above. Nobody's perfect, and there we go. Let's run the application. Alright, so it looks like it worked. So what we've got up here is we've got x showing up here. Now as you can see with the float designation, it automatically defaults to 6 decimal places. And in this case up here we only have 4, but it defaults to 6, so it adds 2 zeros as placeholders for the float value. I'm going to show you how to tweak that so you guys don't get frustrated with long values that you don't even specify. So we've got our values that calculated. Looks like the mathematical formula up here that we embedded within another variable worked as well. So we are good to go. So let's tweak this up here to show us actual figures. So what we're going to do is between the special character %sign and our indicator for our variable, the f, we're going to put in a point on this one. Alright, and bear with me because you'll see what happens with the point. Just putting a period there. On the second value, you can see we've got 0.21. So we have 2 decimal places. And so in this one, we're just going to do it for kicks and giggles so you guys can see what's going on. We're going to put 0.2. Alright? And in our sum, which down here you can see is 4 decimal place values, and it defaults to 6. We're just going to round it to 0.1. Alright? So you follow me? Alright, so go ahead and run it, and you'll see what happens here. Alright, so if you look down and compare what we've done, you can see that just adding simply a period, or what they call as a formatter, between the special %sign and our float value, it's going to round to 0 decimal places. It's going to round for us automatically. There we go. Bam. Okay, the second one where we put 0.2, the formatter, which is going to be 2 decimal places, has rounded this, which is actually our initial value, has rounded it to 0.21, which is 2 decimal places. So that's perfect. The next one, as you can see, is only 1 decimal place, which we put in the formatter 0.1 to get 7.7. So it's actually rounded it up to 7.7, whereas before it was like 7.73 or something like that. So it's rounded it to the nearest decimal place for us. Okay, so hopefully that makes a little bit sense as far as these formatters that we added in here. You could stretch this out to 4 if you'd like, rerun it, and you'll see it's our exact number up there, 4 decimal places past. You could bring this one out to 0.3. It's all up to the formatters that you put within the decimal, within the parameters there. So within our string here, we have put in our float values. We've added formatters to make it look nice. So if we're looking to round things, we can round them to certain decimal places. So that's all kind of some of the more of the basics for float. Let's do one more thing just to show that the variables work nicely together. And what we're going to do is put an integer value in there that we learned about in the last lesson. We're just going to change this to 3. So if we were to put an integer value and then put a decimal place, it wouldn't actually run for us. It would run, but it wouldn't actually calculate the decimal places for that. It would only take the 3 out of there. Okay. One last thing that we have to do, actually if we run this right now, we'll get an error, and that is because in our indicator here we still have an F. So we're going to delete that out and change it over to an integer, because we've modified this float value up here to an integer. And the name stays the same, Y, so we're good there. So now we should be good to go to run, and just show you how the float value variables right here works nicely with our integer value, giving us finally our final float value. It looks like we have rounded to the 3rd decimal place. So that was a lot of information thrown at you. Don't get bogged down. It only gets easier as you move into it. You start understanding the variables, how they connect, how they work together, and we'll all stay afloat together. So hopefully you're hanging in there. We'll see you in the next tutorial.